Most Venerable High Priest, High Commissioner, Your Excellencies, Secretary General, good evening. I best lose the face mask. I think we've all got used to wearing these things, but perhaps that makes one's voice that much clearer. A very warm good evening to you all. To all friends here, I say, Ayubovan. It is a real pleasure to join you here in person. I stress that, and I'm sure I speak for many within this hall and beyond, that we join in person for this Vesak Day. Now, High Commissioner, you know, with all the best planning in the world, with the challenges of COVID, and may I, at this point, perhaps pay tribute to our incredible NHS doctors and teams, and in doing so, pay tribute to your own husband as well, who has been amongst the many who have been keeping us safe. And it's a great pleasure to meet you, sir. I've heard a great deal about you from the High Commissioner, and it's one of those unique occasions that we get to meet. But it's undoubtedly the fact that we are beginning, and it is just that, beginning to assemble together at this occasion, that through prayers and through coming together, but the commitment we've seen on the front line, that at least here in the UK we begin to see the inklings of hope, inklings of a new beginning post this pandemic which has gripped us all, impacted our daily lives, and sadly impacted our daily lives in a way that many of us have lost many loved ones. But as Minister for South Asia and the Commonwealth, and I'm delighted the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Her Excellency the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, joins us today. It's somewhat just about an hour or two ago that the Secretary General and I were discussing the importance of CHOGM as to when it may be held, the Heads of Government meeting. And we were again doing so virtually. And I did say to the Secretary General, who I know well, I said, Patricia, are you going over to the High Commission's Vesak Day celebrations? And it is great to see you here again this evening, Secretary General, amongst other members of the Diplomatic Corps. But I believe, as we've heard from the High Commissioner already, that this particular occasion, and we do so with the blessed presence of religious leadership, but also political leadership, diplomatic leadership this evening, that this occasion is one that talks about peace. It talks about enlightenment. And perhaps it's opportune in many ways, because that light after the darkness of the pandemic is what we all desire. It's what we all hope for. It's what we all pray for. I do believe it was in Sri Lanka that the World Fellowship of Buddhists first decided to celebrate Vesak as the Buddha's birthday. Now, as you know, High Commissioner, I was planning to be in Sri Lanka for this particular event. However, it was entirely appropriate as I returned from a visit to Europe today, from Italy, that when I knew that, unfortunately, because of the situation in Sri Lanka, that I would have to postpone my visit, there was without doubt one particular event that I penciled in, which was this evening's event. Because as some of you know, that visit that I was hoping to make was my first visit back to Sri Lanka in over a year and a half. Therefore, I was deeply disappointed to have to postpone, but equally I'm delighted that I'm able to at least experience some of those celebrations, but also the warmth of Sri Lanka in joining you here this evening. I'm also acutely conscious of the challenges this particular wave is causing across an area that I'm privileged and honoured to engage with directly as Her Majesty's Minister responsible for South Asia. When we've seen the challenges across the countries of South Asia, and there's members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here this evening, let me assure you of this. We in the United Kingdom celebrate our relationships with that part of the world. We celebrate our relationships with the Commonwealth, the global family that has brought us together. And as we reflect on the challenges of the pandemic, what it's done in changing our lives, I was asked a few weeks back, what was my biggest learning? What I learned from the pandemic? And you know what? It only took a moment of reflection You know, my children haven't seen Dad for the number of days, hours, minutes, seconds, call it what you may, weeks, months, that they have in the last 12 months. Our family unit has become that much stronger. Neighbors that perhaps had not talked to neighbors have begun talking to each other. Streets and towns and villages across not just this country, but globally have come together. People you didn't know, you asked after them. And I responded by saying that the lesson I've learned, whether it's within my own family, within my own community, within my own town, city, country, and indeed globally, is the interdependence of our common humanity. And that's why events such as this, the celebration of Vesak Day, are so important. It is written in Pali Dipika that patience, endurance, is the best form of penance. And I think during this very difficult year, all of our endurance has been tested. And I'm sure I speak for everyone in this room that our thoughts and prayers are with all those who have sadly lost family and friends. Sadly, I myself include within that. Uncles who were well, and certainly one very close one to myself, suddenly within days had tragically lost his life. Yet, the hope we have from the pandemic is how people have come together. Not just governments, but societies, communities, businesses, organizations, ordinary folk, people across the world have come together in collaboration. And we have important research collaboration between the United Kingdom and Sri Lankan universities. And the UK has a £500 million commitment to COVAX for equitable access for over 90 countries, including indeed Sri Lanka. And we have worked together with the World Health Organization to strengthen support in that respect. Yet I do not deny that the scale of the challenge remains huge. But this scale of our global partnership, I assure you, is working on solutions. It seems a long time ago, but it was only a year or so ago that we were dealing with what this pandemic is. Many of us perhaps had seen the pandemic emerge in Asia and thought, yes, it will be a challenge which perhaps to us here in Europe seemed remote. But the reality is, 12 months or so on, the reality is very much at home as well as abroad. Of course, we're all hard at work in fighting the challenges of the pandemic, and as the Secretary General and I, amongst others, and including our friends from Rwanda, are hard on work on issues across climate, sustainable development, and other shared priorities. I'm therefore hopeful that as we battle through this pandemic, as we see the rollout of the vaccines both home and abroad, that we can continue to not just deal with the health pandemic, but also focus on other priorities, including those around climate change. And therefore we look forward to hosting COP26 in November in Glasgow, so that our post-pandemic world is not just focused on fairer, equitable access for vaccines and the health crisis, but it's also creating a world which is fairer, more secure, but importantly, a more sustainable place for generations to come. Now, in these challenging times, I hope the celebration of life that is Vesak Day can bring that light and harmony that we all desire for everyone, not just for the Buddhist community, but for all our collective humanity. The Buddha said, and I quote, that our health, our basic health, is our greatest gift. Contentment is our greatest wealth. Faithfulness, the best relationship. Therefore, on reflecting on those wise, poignant, spiritual words of Buddha, on behalf of our government, on behalf of our Prime Minister, on behalf of all of us, to all of you, celebrating Vesak Day, be it here in the UK or around the world, we hope and we pray that you and your families will remain healthy, continue to seek inspiration, direction from your faith, and be rich in happy reunions as we are witnessing here this evening in the months and years ahead. I wish you all a a very happy Vesak Day. Thank you.